let's say you have water in your boiling water, right? Now, gases and liquids behave like this, to where when you apply heat to it, you're applying energy to it. So the molecules inside the water, when the temperature is room temperature, it's just sitting there, right? There's no movement. So when you apply heat to it, what happens to it? It eventually starts getting to, eventually starts moving around, and eventually starts getting to what's called a boiling point, right? So gases and liquids have this property. So basically, what we need to understand is that heat, right, moves these atoms and molecules around. That's pretty much the basic sort of physics that you get from high school and college. Is that there's a kind of a thermal noise there, right, within atoms and stuff. That if it's dead cold, if the universe were dead cold, we wouldn't have anything here, right? There would be no universe. So heat is a very important component to basically life, to basically everything. Obviously, we get the heat from the sun, but so if you heat up atoms, they get excited and they move around. As the temperature goes down, they're kind of like frozen. You know what I mean? That's what's going on here. In the summer winter cycle, what'll happen is that if you ever walked, well, just go outside and look at your street, right? You know how there's like cracks in the street, or maybe there's cracks in the driveways, right? This happens because over time, what's happened is that we're moving away from solids and gases. I mean, excuse me, liquids and gases into solids now. Solids, obviously, the atoms are more, rigid. It's more, well, what I mean to say that it's a solid, basically, right? So it's not going to be moving around like you think it would, right? So what happens in a solid is that if you put heat in it, it expands a little bit. Solids expand and then contract with temperature. So what's going on in your driveway or the street where you see these cracks is that the heat is basically causing an expansion. And since it's kind of cast in stone already, right? It's kind of frozen, right? So it doesn't know what to do. It doesn't know when to expand. And then when the material in there expands and then it contracts again, it basically just breaks apart. That's what causes these cracks. I used to have a job in Santa Clara County. It was my first internship. They gave me this big book of every single street, every single house. It's kind of like a civil engineering map. I'm actually an electrical engineer, but I took this job just for to have a job. My parents work for Santa Clara County, and they got me in there. See, it's all about who you know, right? So, they would say, okay, go over here, and then I would inspect the streets for cracks. So that's where I understood that, okay, this is what all these streets have cracks, because it's basically the street is expanding and contracting with the summer and the winter. So that's what's going on in this guitar as well, is that when the temperature drops, right, and when the temperature rises, the finite elements in here down to the atom, right, they're kind of microscopically, like they're kind of moving around. So that movement, right, will supposedly cause these atoms inside this guitar to be more contiguous, right, to be more continuous, if you will, so that they're a better conductor. So these knots that are here, they tend to sort of break up. So like I said, that's why the summer winter cycle is important, because the guitar is actually sort of shrinking and kind of expanding and then coming back at a microscopic level. You know what I mean? It's not, you can't see it, but the atoms inside here are kind of doing this, and they're kind of flexing and coming back, flexing and coming back. So that action resets the sound. So it has to go through a couple of those cycles, right? It goes through a couple of these cycles, and then it becomes more resonant. So that's the thing. That's why you need a few years, because the temperature affects the guitar, not just so the wood sort of breathes in and out. And, hopefully you don't have any knots in here, like, tree rings or anything like that, that obstructs it. So over time, so two things, right? Hit these big chords so that it resonates everywhere. And I gave you all the tips from last time, the artificial device that you could put on there, or put it, set it to rock music or metal music. So beyond that, hitting these big chords, these big resonant chords, right, is going to sort of break this up and then form sort of a pathway so that these sounds can travel conducively, right, without any obstruction too much. And then the weather patterns break it up over time. So the atomic structure of this, like I said, is slowly expanding and contracting with, with the weather. So that has an impact on it. That's why these guitars change. So that's the deal here, is that this is probably made, and all this is about money. So this is probably made a lot better than this guitar, I would think. So maybe this is a different type of wood that responds more. And then this is $180. So you're going to get what you paid for. I mean, you're not going to get the $1,000 version here. So this might be less responsive. It may never open up. I don't know. I can't really tell if this is opened up, but I can totally tell that this is, because this is a better quality guitar. So anyway, guys, I'll talk to you later. And we'll do some other videos like this. Next, I'm going to probably talk about, the quality of the wood and the pinginess of the sound. That'll be another video. Watch out for that one, all right? I will talk to you later.